go. I just wanted to say good evening and welcome to NOCC's Summer Digital Learning Series. I am Alana Feuchter. I'm the Patient Insights and Advocacy Advisor, and I am joined by my colleague, Jennifer McClendon, who is Senior Manager for Education and Mission Programs. Here at NOCC, we know that you are far more than your cancer and that you can and should continue to live a very full life. And with summer being a time of discovery, we encourage you to use this series to rediscover yourself. Tonight's presentation and the entire series is intended to provide you, survivors and caregivers, with self-care strategies to help on the ovarian cancer journey. We are super grateful for the partners who helped support our efforts tonight, AstraZeneca, Merck, and Foundation Medicine. Before we begin, I want to just give a few housekeeping items. If you haven't already put yourself on mute, I ask that you please do so. If you are unsure how to do so, at the bottom of your screen, there should be a microphone icon that you can click on. And we did want to let everyone know that we will be recording today's session in speaker view only, so that we can put this on our YouTube channel for future viewing. That said, we will stop filming or recording, I'm sorry, before we get to questions and answers. So no one here should be worried that your identity is going to be out there. So speaking of questions, also, I wanted to make sure that you know how to ask questions, because we are going to be probably a pretty large group. Instead of everyone talking over each other, we will ask you just to put your questions in the chat box, which is at the bottom. You can put your questions in at any time, but then at the end, we will go through the questions and try and get through as many as we can. All right, let's get started. I don't know about all of you, but when I think of summer, one of the things that comes to mind for me is fresh fruits and vegetables. I love my farmer's market. And when you're in treatment and trying to combat things like side effects like fatigue, or maybe trying to get swimsuit ready if you're taking a vacation to the beach, we want you to come away with today's presentation, which is jam-packed. And I do mean jam-packed. Yes, that's a pun. With information for you to take advantage of the best foods that summer has to offer. We are delighted to have Chelsey Schneider, who is a registered dietitian and board certified specialist in oncology nutrition, join us today. She has experience counseling clients with a variety of diagnoses and supports the Women's Center for Gynecologic and Breast Cancer within the Mount Sinai Cancer Center in New York. Chelsey is also part of the clinical operations team at our partner, Savor, which is a digital health company that provides personalized nutritional support, and she will talk a little bit about that later. Welcome, Chelsey.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored and excited to be here live from my living room to talk to you today. I'm actually in New York City, so I'm praying that a loud ambulance or police car does not go by right now. But hopefully we'll have a little quiet on my block tonight. I'm here tonight to talk to you about summer foods to help you feel better. So I will talk a little bit about, let's go next, some symptom management tips. So I picked some common symptoms that you may or may not have experienced during treatment, some nutrition tips on managing them, and some recipes on how to manage these common symptoms as well. Then I'll talk a little bit about Savor's summer fruits and vegetables picks, and a little bit about our technology, INA, and how that can help you during treatment. All right, so I'll dive right in. Fatigue is a very common side effect that many people experience during treatment. It affects about 50 to 90% of people at some point during treatment. As you can see here on my slide, fatigue is a very complex matrix, and it's multifactorial, meaning there are a lot of different factors that can influence fatigue, and many different things that can contribute to fatigue. Cancer cells are fast dividing cells, and they require a lot of energy. Because these cells are fast dividing, this increases your body's calorie and protein requirements. So you need more energy than normal when you're going through treatment. If this increased demand, if this increased calorie and protein needs are not being met, you can easily feel a lack of energy. But it may be really challenging during treatment to meet those increased demands of treatment if you experience side effects like a decrease in appetite, changes in taste, nausea. Anything like that can contribute to you not being able to meet those increased demands. Cancer treatment itself can also cause fatigue. The amount and the type of fatigue will depend on the type of cancer treatment that you're getting, whether it's chemotherapy, radiation therapy, surgery, or another treatment modality. During chemotherapy, you might have more of a cyclic fatigue. It's very common during chemo to have ups and downs. There might be some days where you're feeling pretty energetic and some other days that I like to call rest days, days where you should hang out and, not do too many things around the house, more of those, periods of rest. So depending on the type of treatment you have, you might have different levels of fatigue and different days where you're feeling more tired or not. The physical demands of doctor's appointment and treatment can also be draining. If you're going in for radiation treatment, you're expected to be in a doctor's office every day, and that can use some of your energy as well. Another contributor to fatigue could be emotional stress and possibly anxiety or depression, which can also influence your energy levels. Many people experience symptoms that interfere with normal nutrition and hydration during treatment, whether it is nausea, changes in taste, or mouth sores that make eating or drinking more challenging. So poor nutrition and hydration can influence fatigue as well. And then lastly, side effects like pain or sleeplessness due to steroids and decreased blood counts or anemia can also make you feel more tired. So as you can see, there are a lot of things fighting against your body's use of energy. The treatment, the possibly decrease in blood counts, struggling to meet those increased demands of more calories and protein. So we'll definitely give you some tips coming up about how to target those different things nutritionally. Okay. So many cancer treatments work by temporarily stopping cells from dividing, especially cells that divide very quickly. These often include our blood cells, red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, and all other parts of our blood cells that are made by the bone marrow. Because treatment is targeting these fast dividing cells, they are often lower during treatment. Low red blood cells can cause anemia and low hemoglobin, which can make you feel more tired during treatment. If you are anemic and you're having, prolonged low blood counts, your doctor might recommend some sort of medical intervention like supplements or a blood transfusion. But focusing on good nutrition can really help to support your body's effort to rebuild those blood cells and to have the right nutrients available for your body to rebuild when treatment is knocking down your blood counts. There is not one food that will increase your blood counts. As oncology dietitians, we get asked time and time again, my red blood cells are low, my white blood cells are low. What is that one special food I can eat? And unfortunately, there's no one special answer to that question, but a focus on iron-rich foods and protein-rich foods helps ensure that you're giving your body what you need to rebuild those blood counts. So here I'll talk to you a little bit about iron-rich foods, and the next slide coming up is about which protein-rich foods we should be focusing on. Okay. We know that red meat is one of the best ways to get iron from food. However, you may have heard that it is not recommended to be eating too much red meat. Red meat should be limited to about 12 to 18 ounces of cooked red meat per week. And red meat includes pork, beef, lamb, and some other foods. So you definitely can eat some red meat. However, you don't want it to be the main focus of your diet. It's also really valuable to focus on increasing your intake of iron-rich plant-based foods, which is a whole nother category of ways that we can get iron in the diet. Plant-based iron-rich foods include iron-fortified cereals like oatmeal, cooked lentils and beans like kidney beans, pinto beans, lima beans, navy beans, black beans, really any beans have a great source of iron. Tofu, black-eyed peas, spinach, and leafy greens. So there is another caveat to this whole plant-based iron situation, which throws another thing at you. But when we're eating plant-based iron, it's a little bit harder to absorb than iron that comes from red meat. So it's really important, if you're trying to add this plant-based iron to your diet, to also pair it with vitamin C rich foods. They kind of join together and it helps your body to absorb that plant-based iron. So here I have some combinations of foods that I think sound good together, of how you can pair plant-based iron with foods that have vitamin C. So let's say you're sauteing baby spinach because the nutritionist told you to eat more iron. You can also add red bell peppers or orange bell peppers in there. Those are great sources of food-based vitamin C. Cooked lentil soup is another great source of plant-based iron. So you can have that with some kale chips, or even a big squeeze of lemon juice has a lot of vitamin C in it. Tofu is a source of plant-based iron, and that can be stir-fried or baked, or however you like to prepare it, with some broccoli, which has vitamin C. And then acai or a berry smoothie, which has vitamin C, and throwing in some baby spinach or kale for that plant-based iron. So those are different ways to think about, if you are increasing that plant-based iron in your diet, to make sure you're incorporating vitamin C rich foods at that same meal so you're maximizing the absorption. Another interesting tip that has been found in some research studies is that it is possible that drinking tea can interfere with the absorption of that plant-based iron. So if you're having one of these meals or snacks, or any of the foods that I previously mentioned, it's best to do it in a separate meal or snack than you're having a cup of tea. Okay. Another way to maximize your diet when you're feeling fatigued and to help provide your body with the building blocks to rebuild those blood counts is to consume adequate protein. A lot of people experience taste changes during chemotherapy, and that is very different for everyone. And I'll talk a little bit later on about taste changes. But in my experience working with this population, there are a lot of taste changes with protein-rich foods. I hear time after time that red meat doesn't taste the same, chicken doesn't taste the same, fish doesn't taste the same. So sometimes people are leaning on more carbohydrate-rich foods or fruits or vegetables. But it's really important to have adequate protein in the diet, because that gives your blood cells the building blocks, again, to kind of rebuild during treatment. It's certainly healthy to have animal protein, but it's even healthier to focus on adding more plant-based protein to your diet, especially if you're experiencing taste changes with some of the protein staples that you're normally used to eating. It could be an interesting time to branch out and maybe try a different source of protein that you haven't had before, or to lean on one of those plant-based proteins that maybe wasn't part of your routine before, but now with taste changes can be part of your routine now. So plant-based proteins include whole soy foods like tofu, tempeh, edamame, which are soybeans, lentils, chickpeas, any type of beans, quinoa, which is a grain that has a lot of protein, nutritional yeast, spirulina, and all nuts and seeds. this is not a complete list of plant-based proteins. I'm just highlighting some of my favorite ones. So did you know that lentils have 18 grams of protein per 1 cup of cooked lentils? That is equivalent to eating 2 or 3 ounces of meat. So I just wanted to share that fact because a lot of times we think about meat for protein, but plant-based protein like lentils and beans can be just as great of a source. Both beans and chickpeas contain about 15 grams of protein per 1 cup cooked. So that's about like eating 2 eggs. And they're also excellent sources of complex carbohydrates, fiber, iron, potassium, and lots of different vitamins and minerals. So nutritional yeast is something you might be like, I never heard of that, or what is that, or I've never tried that, but it is considered a complete plant-based protein. It is a deactivated form of baker or brewer's yeast, so you shouldn't try to make your normal bread recipe. It will not rise the same, but it is in the same family as that type of food. It's a flaky yellow yeast, and it has a really yummy and actually cheesy flavor. So it can be added to dishes like pasta or sprinkled on popcorn. And it's a really interesting way to kind of add some plant-based protein into your diet that you might have not thought of before. It has 7 grams it has 14 grams of protein and 7 grams of fiber per ounce. And it has a lot of really beneficial vitamins and minerals like B12. Spirulina is another great plant-based protein that you might not be familiar with. It is highly regarded as one of those superfoods, and it is bright green, so it feels like a superfood when you're eating it. It can be found in the grocery store, usually near the protein powders or chia seeds or flax seeds, wheat germ, sometimes in that aisle where those items are found. And it is a green powder that is an algae, actually. It's about 60% protein, which is really impressive. When compared to peanuts, which are just 25% proteins, and beef, which is 23% protein. So it has 3 times more protein per, I guess, weight than some other protein-rich foods. Later, I will share a recipe of how to use this blue-green algae in your diet. Okay. So it is also common that normal sleep can be impacted during cancer treatment, and this can contribute to fatigue. This can be due to anxiety, stress, maybe steroid medications, or other factors. Here are some tips for managing sleeplessness or fatigue. Being consistent and setting a regular bedtime and a regular wake time can actually be really helpful in helping your body follow a clock and helping you fall asleep and wake up at the same time every night and every morning. Make sure your bedroom is quiet, dark, relaxing, and cool. Stop using electronic devices about 30 minutes before bedtime. Sometimes avoiding caffeine and alcohol late in the day can also help improve your sleep. I know personally, sometimes I just need that 3 or 3:30 extra cup of coffee, but if you're struggling with sleep, trying to have it in the morning and really before the afternoon is best in terms of caffeine and alcohol. Getting some exercise, being physically active has been linked to helping to improve sleep. And then there's some really interesting research on tart cherry juice, which contains melatonin. And it has been noted that if you drink about 8 ounces 30 minutes before bedtime, it can encourage your body to continue to produce that melatonin, and it's really delicious. And cherries are one of our summer picks that I'll talk a little bit more about later. You can also have a light carbohydrate-rich snack before bed if you find that your appetite or hunger is waking you up at night. And having carbohydrates in your body before bed also helps your body to continue to produce that melatonin, that hormone that helps you fall asleep and stay asleep. If you're having any hot flashes at night, there are certain things you can do, like using a cooling pillow or blanket. I recently heard of the Chillo, which is a cooling pillow, and just sleeping in breathable cotton and lightweight pajamas. These are a few basic tips, but later in NOCC's Digital series, they will be having a true sleep expert come and chat. So if you're interested to hear more, I would definitely join that lecture in July. Okay. One other tip to help with fatigue is to consider doing some meal planning. So like I was speaking about in the beginning, if you find that you're experiencing fatigue at certain points during your treatment, or if you're more fatigued in the afternoon or at night, you can use meal preparation and planning to kind of help target that and have meals prepared for when you know you're going to be feeling more tired. So some tips for thinking about what foods are easy to prepare ahead of time are frozen smoothie packs. So you can make some frozen smoothies in Ziploc bags and put all of the ingredients in there and leave them in the freezer. So you can put, a half a frozen banana, 3 strawberries, a small handful of baby spinach, and do that in 5 or 6 freezer packs and leave that in the freezer ready to go. So if you're feeling tired, you can just take that out. It's already portioned out for you. You can add your liquid, throw it in the blender, and it's a meal that's ready in 30 or 60 seconds. Eggs can be a really great meal to utilize, a food to utilize in meal prep. So you see my picture here of little egg muffins. These can be something that can be kept in the fridge for up to 7 days and can be made with really any vegetable, fresh or frozen, that you have around. So you can scramble eggs together, put them with your vegetables, and you just bake them in these little muffin cups. And then you have an individual snack, or if you want to have 2 or 3 for a meal, something that's really easy and prepared ahead of time. Soups can be something great to prepare ahead of time and leave in individual containers in the freezer. Take it out in the morning and have in the afternoon or evening for a snack or a meal that's already prepared. And then making sheet pans of roasted vegetables is something I often recommend. In the beginning of the week, you can chop up 2, 3, 4 different types of vegetables, or you can even buy some already cubed in the grocery store. I know my local grocery stores have, butternut squash and cauliflower and sweet potatoes already cut up. Or if you're going to the farmer's market, when you get home, chop them up, roast 2 or 3 pans of vegetables and keep them in the fridge. And that can be a base of your meal throughout the week, whether you want to fry up an egg or something else and just mix it together. You will have your vegetables prepared for the week. You can also stock up on some items that do not need preparing. If you are struggling with fatigue during treatment and you're someone who is normally cooking 3 meals a day, you can take a step back and make it a little bit easy on yourself and have some things in the fridge that do not necessarily need cooking, like frozen grains. I know if you go to Trader Joe's, they have cooked brown rice, cooked quinoa, and it's frozen in their refrigerator and freezer section. So you can start seeking out some easy options like that to have some simple, healthy things at home. Individual yogurts are great as well. Individual guacamoles or hummuses that you can keep in the fridge. Just thinking about some small items that are easy if you pop open the fridge and are not feeling like cooking a whole meal. Just some simple things that can be there for you. It's also really important to try to meet hydration goals. Being dehydrated can make you feel lightheaded or fatigued. So if you're struggling to meet your hydration goals during treatment or after treatment, I would figure out what can help you to drink more water. Is it, using one of those water bottles that keeps beverages cold? Is it using one of the water bottles that says drink at 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 12 p.m., so it's in your face? There are a lot of apps on your phone that can encourage you to drink more water. Is it the taste of water that you're not really enjoying now? Maybe you need to make a pitcher of water in the morning with some fresh lemons, limes, or oranges, or mint or cucumber, just to make it a little bit more interesting. These were hopefully some tips to help you think about how you could do a little bit of meal prep and manage fatigue with nutrition. Okay, so I will talk a little bit about INA at the end, but our technology from Savor Health provides recipes that are meant to be interventions for side effects. So this is an example of that. I'm feeling fatigued. What should I eat? Well, you should eat your Superfood Summer Jam. And I'm actually going to be demoing this recipe at the end of our presentation. So this is a great recipe to use when you're fatigued because it has chia seeds in it. Chia seeds are little balls of energy. They are superfoods and they're very nutrient dense. They're rich in polyunsaturated fats, which are omega-3s, fiber, protein, calcium, and zinc. Just 2 tablespoons of chia seeds contains 4 grams of protein, 11 grams of fiber, and 7 grams of unsaturated fat, and a lot of vitamins and minerals. They are also a complete plant-based protein, and they do have a little bit of iron as well. So when we think about foods that will help give the body a lot of energy, chia seeds covers all the bases: healthy fats, protein, vitamins and minerals for just a little addition to your food. So I'll show you how to make this later, but it's basically meant to be a little bit of a healthy replacement for, let's say, a jelly or a jam. Another recipe that can help you to combat fatigue is my Spirulina Smoothie. So you can see here that it looks very green, and that's from the spirulina, but the recipe also contains some very yummy frozen bananas, frozen fruit, fresh berries, and a pitted date, which helps to cut the taste of the spirulina and make your smoothie taste really sweet and yummy. So this is a perfect example of something that can kind of be prepared ahead of time. You can leave, like I said, those little smoothie Ziploc bags or smoothie containers in the fridge and throw all the ingredients in the smoothie and blend it up together. This will help you to combat fatigue because, again, the spirulina is very nutrient dense. It has a lot of vitamins, minerals, and plant-based protein. Okay, the next side effect that I'd like to talk a little bit about is a metallic taste or taste changes during treatment. This is a very common and very frustrating side effect that many people experience, but we do have some tips to help you manage that. Up to 50% of patients report changes in taste at some point during treatment, and they really vary person to person, but they have been described as no taste of food, a metallic taste, or even an enhanced taste, tasting very salty, or something tasting very, very sweet. Why are taste changes so common? again, back to the factor that chemo is attacking any fast dividing cells, and those include all of the cells in your GI tract, which actually starts in your mouth where your taste buds are. Some cancer treatments can also be metallic based, which is why some people experience that metallic taste with chemo. So we use this acronym here that I outlined called FASS. F stands for fat, A stands for acids, S stands for salt, and S again stands for sweets. So these are 4 ways that you can consider flavoring your food to help combat taste changes. And you can even combine some of them together. So you can take a look at this chart and see how you can help to kind of flavor your food. So if food is tasting too sweet, you can try to add a little bit of lemon juice or an acidic flavor, like an lemon juice, lime juice, squeeze of a fresh orange. Any type of vinegar will be considered an acid, like apple cider vinegar, white balsamic vinegar. If things are tasting a little bit flat, you can try to use a little bit of acid, just following the lines, or a little bit of sweets. With fats, olive oil, and other types of fats help your taste buds to absorb flavors. So you can try to combine some of these, like fats and acids and fats and salts together to try to manage with those taste changes. Okay. Something else that can help a metallic taste is using a simple mouthwash. What I usually recommend is making the mouthwash and leaving it in a water bottle in the kitchen next to the sink, and using it before and after meals. So this mouthwash can help to cleanse your mouth and refresh your taste buds before a meal, and then afterwards cleanse your mouth of any lingering taste if you're having taste changes with food. It can be made at home with a teaspoon of baking soda, a teaspoon of salt, as long as you're not having mouth sores, and 4 cups of warm water. So because this is, I guess, 2 cups of water, you can just put a little sprinkle of each and kind of use that as a really great natural mouth rinse before and after eating. And people find that this is very helpful to help with those taste changes during treatment. Okay, here is an example of a recipe that can help with managing taste changes. You can see here it's very colorful. There are a lot of herbs. It uses olive oil and tomato sauce. So this is eggs and tomato sauce with an herbed yogurt. And it uses kind of different herbs and spices and, like I said, olive oil to help make something very flavorful if your taste buds are changing. All right, now I'm turning over a little bit to talk more about summer produce. So as we all know, eating plenty of fruits and vegetables can help reduce the risk for many different types of cancer and many different chronic diseases. It is recommended that adults eat 1.5 to 2 cups of fruit and 2 to 3 cups of vegetables every day. The American Institute for Cancer Research found that even if these targets are not quite reached every day, any increase in fruits and vegetables has the potential to reduce risk for cancer recurrence. So we highly encourage you to eat as many fruits and vegetables as you can. A lot of research from the CDC shows that only 9% of adults eat the recommended amount of vegetables, and 12% of adults only meet that recommendation for fruit. So I want everyone to think back, since it's 8 o'clock, I'm hoping everyone had dinner, and see if you met that guideline. Did you have 2 to 3 cups of vegetables today? And did you have 1.5 to 2 cups of fruit? a piece of fruit is also considered a serving. So if we think about a banana or a small apple or a small peach, that certainly counts as a serving. And it's, not something you have to do 7 days of the week every single day, but we want it to be most days, the majority of your days, trying to meet that target for fruits and vegetables. And hopefully these yummy recipes will help inspire you for some new fruits and vegetables this summer. Okay. So a little bit more about summer fruits and vegetables. Foods that are grown and consumed during their appropriate seasons are more nutritionally dense. In a study that monitored the vitamin C content of broccoli, it was found that broccoli grown during its peak season, which is the summer, had higher vitamin C content than broccoli grown in the spring. So produce from your local grocery store, whether it's organic or conventional, travels 1,500 miles usually from farm to plate. And it is an amazing thing that we can get fresh fruits and vegetables all year round, but there are so many benefits to eating seasonally that I encourage you this summer to really take advantage of that, because there are so many health benefits. Environmental benefits, like I said, nutrient density. Usually the taste is so great. I don't know if you've ever eaten a cucumber from your local farmer's market, or maybe even a garden if you're lucky to have that. But it's really awesome to see kind of what the fresh food at the farmer's markets taste like. Another bonus, of course, is that you're supporting local businesses, and hopefully the cost is lower as well. Okay. If you attended NOCC's previous wellness retreat, this slide might look familiar to you, and I did want to touch on it very quickly since this question always comes up when we're talking about produce and fruits and vegetables, is should I be eating organic or not? Currently, there's no convincing evidence that shows a difference between organic and conventional grown foods related to cancer risk. Even conventionally grown products, the pesticide level is really low and it's safe to consume. So at the same time, conventional wisdom would tell us it's probably not a good idea to eat a lot of pesticides. So you should always wash your produce very well, whether it's organic or not, which does remove some surface pesticide residue. But if it is accessible and affordable, you can consider buying certain foods organic. You may have heard of the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15, which is a report put out by the Environmental Working Group every year that highlights the Dirty Dozen, the 12 fruits and vegetables that have the highest levels of pesticides, and then the Clean 15, which is usually the cleanest fruits and vegetables. So you can kind of use this as an annual guide of if you'd like to purchase some things organic, if that's your preference and financially you can do that, the Clean 15 are ones that you don't have to purchase organic, and the Dirty Dozen ones, maybe you can consider using those as organic. Another rule of thumb that I like to think about when I'm grocery shopping is if something has a very thick skin, like let's say a banana, usually you are peeling off most of the pesticides. So if you're in the grocery store and you're like, should I get this organic or should I not? You can always kind of use that quick rule as well. Here is a list of summer produce. And I realize since we're on Zoom that this will probably vary between all of us if we are in different areas of the world. But these were some summer produce picks for New York that I found. We might have to do some more research based on where everyone's calling in from. But cherries, corn, cucumbers, eggplant, garlic, green beans, blackberries, blueberries, cantaloupe, carrots, celery, lots of delicious produce is available over the summer. It's really the best time to hit the farmer's market and to get fresh fruits and vegetables. So with all the delicious produce that's available over the summer, I wanted to share a few of Savor Health's summer produce picks. Sugar snap peas. I'm not sure if everyone here has ever had sugar snap peas, but they are my top seasonal summer pick. They provide a lot of beneficial nutrients like vitamin C, vitamin K, vitamin A, and plant-based iron, minerals, and a lot of fiber. But beyond their nutrient density, they are crunchy, they are sweet, and they are a great snack. I personally like to keep them stocked in the fridge over the summer. So if I run in the door from work and I need something to munch on, they are there. Or if you're cooking dinner and preparing dinner and you need something to munch on, they are just a really tasty, crunchy, sweet, delicious snack. The next pick that we have are stone fruits. So when I think of summer, I think of stone fruits, peaches, plums, nectarines, and cherries. They are called stone fruits because of their center pit. Research shows that people who eat more fruit have a lower risk of a wide range of different types of cancers, which reflects the combined protection of the various nutrients that they contain. Research on cherries most often involve those tart cherries that I was referring to, but we know that any variety of cherries can help reduce markers of oxidative stress and inflammation in the body. Our next pick is berries. I think, when we all think about summer, we must think about all the delicious berries, blueberries, raspberries, strawberries. And they are one of the top cancer-fighting foods as well. They contain very high levels of flavonoids called anthocyanins, which are strongly associated with decreasing inflammation in the body, which lowers the risk of many different chronic diseases, including cancer. Okay, and lastly, corn. I mean, who does not think of summer produce without thinking of corn on the cob, a yummy barbecued corn, or something like that? So corn is an amazing source of dietary fiber and vitamin C, just like all of the other fresh summer produce we have discussed, and it contains almost 5 grams of protein per cup, which is a lot more than other fruits and vegetables. And it's also considered a whole grain, which is a huge bonus. Okay, so here we have a sugar snap pea recipe. And this is also a recipe that can help you with managing those taste changes because it uses the fat, the sesame oil or olive oil if you prefer, sea salt, which is the S for salt, and some black sesame seeds. So it's a really simple, easy recipe and can help manage those taste changes. Okay, this is another one of our taste changing managing recipes, which is broiled peaches with ginger and yogurt. It uses coconut sugar, ripe peaches, freshly grated ginger, Greek yogurt, and sliced almonds to make a really yummy either dessert or breakfast maybe, or snack, summertime snack. And all of the different flavors coming together can help manage if you're having any taste changes while incorporating this fresh summer produce. Okay. Now I will quickly demo my Chia Jam. I want to make sure we leave some time for questions. I'm just relocating very far across a few steps away in my tiny kitchen in New York City. And here I have my recipe. So let me get to the next slide. Okay, so here I have my chia seeds. I don't know if you've seen these in the grocery store, but like I said, they're usually right next to the oatmeal or the flax seeds or the wheat germs. So the recipe calls for 1 tablespoon of chia seeds. So you can see when you buy chia seeds, they're kind of flat. They kind of look like poppy seeds almost. And when they come in contact with liquid, they really gel up and they absorb the liquid. So it's really great to mix into something like that will have a lot of liquid, like these strawberries. So 1 tablespoon of chia seeds. I have my fresh farmers market strawberries already cut up. So I'll put these in the bowl. And then I have a 1/2 tablespoon of lemon juice, which I will just eyeball with my hand, a little squeeze of lemon juice. And then I'm going to be using a little bit of sweetener. So the sweetener is your choice. I really like to use maple syrup as a natural sweetener, and I'll use 1 tablespoon of that and combine that in here. So when we think about adding sugar to foods, it's certainly fine, but you do want to focus on using some natural sweeteners like maple syrup, honey, coconut sugar, or if you're someone maybe who's watching your blood sugars, you can use something like liquid stevia or stevia packets, because that is a sugar that will not affect your blood sugars. I'm actually using this little masher, which came with my son's bowl to mash up his food. But it is a very handy tool in the kitchen, especially if you need to make superfood Chia Jam. You could also use a fork. You could use a mallet. Or you can even blend this in a blender or a little NutriBullet and combine it. So I'm just mashing up the strawberries and getting them to be really soft. And then I'll show you what it looks like. While I do this, I wanted to go back to the topic of sugar. So I added 1 small tablespoon of sugar to this entire recipe. That will be a few, great servings of Chia Jam. So it's certainly fine to add some sweetener to your food. But like I said, choosing a natural sweetener and just watching the portion of how much you are using in your food. This 1 tablespoon is going to get me a long way and will just, go really well with kind of the lemon juice and the natural sweetness of the strawberries.
So Chelsey, while you're mashing, that ties into one of the questions that we have.
Yes.
I don't mind if I hop in. And someone asked that if sugar feeds cancer, should we limit fruits that are rich in sugar?
Yeah, so that is a great question. So the relationship between sugar and cancer is a very complex relationship. It is certainly not one where if you eat something like fruit, that it's going to start making your cancer cells growing. There is a relationship, but it's over many, 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 many years of maybe someone who's constantly eating sugary foods, like a lot of sugary coffee drinks or fruit juices or sodas or pastries. That eventually can increase hormones that are linked to cancer, but it's certainly not anything that has to do with fresh fruits that naturally have sugar and not increasing cancer risk. Fruits also have a lot of fiber, which prevents those spikes in blood sugars. So it's certainly healthy to eat fruits, and they are definitely part of that cancer fighting diet. So I just want to show you kind of what this looks like. It looks a little, can we see here?
I can see.
Here. So it looks a little liquidy now, but what happens is those chia seeds will, like I said, they'll gel up and they'll absorb the water. And in a few hours, this will be like a jam or a jelly that is a really healthy replacement for jam or jelly, because it's using those chia seeds, which are very nutrient dense foods. Okay.
Are we ready for questions?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the one last thing I wanted to
Oh, I
say
know.
is how to use the superfood jam. I was just thinking, you know, we could eat it by the spoon. It is that delicious, but this could be something that is added to whole grain bread, added to plain Greek yogurt, maybe even added to some other fresh fruits to give it a little extra nutrient density. So it certainly can be used in a lot of different ways. But yes.